Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another speed build. Today we are going to be building here in Mount Komorebi and we're going to make a little sushi restaurant, or at least an eatery. It is not using Dine Out. I'm actually using the new Businesses and Hobbies expansion pack, and I thought that this would be a really good way to kind of test out how a restaurant scenario would work. Here you'll see I have the inspiration image popped up here on the screen. This one is from Pinterest. Again, I have been in my Pinterest era, I guess, but I came up with this basic shape. It's very easy. It's just two little boxes on top, so I thought that would be a nice easy way to just make this at first. And I did want to use these little roof pieces that came with Snowy Escape on top of the trim that came with Life and Death, because I thought that it would look really, really nice. It kind of gives you like an extra tile on either side, which you don't really need if you're building this, but I thought it gave a nice little spot to place those roof pieces, and it kind of made it look a little bit more intentional. And I also did use the roof swatch from Snowy Escape in this brown tone, and then the roof adornments from Snowy Escape as well, and I just put them all across the top here. But when I was playtesting this, I had my sim live above the restaurant section, so she would make all of the sushi meals and also like the noodle meals, because you know, gotta have the yakisoba in there somewhere. And I would have her make those meals as like a party serving, and then she would separate the servings by just picking up the single servings at a time, and from her inventory I would move them into the refrigerators downstairs where the customers can just grab from them. And it seemed to work out pretty well. The customers came in, they would take a look at the refrigerators, they'd grab their food, some of them would make tea or they would drink the tea that was already served, and they would always pretty much start out by sitting in the island seating that I have inside, and then sometimes they would move out to the kotatsu table that I have on the back deck, which you don't see yet because I'm getting ahead of myself, but they would end up moving to the kotatsu table on the back porch area, and then maybe even into the courtyard, because I also had some music playing out there, the Japanese folk station, of course, because that is also the music station that came with Snowy Escape, and it did fit the scenario that I was trying to build very, very nicely. So you'll also see I added some downspouts from, I believe those came with Businesses and Hobbies. I really like the swatches on those better than the ones from Get Together. They look a little bit more worn out, maybe a little bit more dark and kind of dingy, which is kind of what I was going for. I also wanted to create a frame on some of the windows, so what I did was I used the roof adornment piece that came with Cottage Living, that little wooden beam, and I did repeat it and I raised it up with tool mod to fit just above some of the windows. I did not do it to all of the windows because it was just so much work to get it in the right position and it drove me crazy. So, but on some of the windows you will see those little tiny pieces, and they are from Cottage Living. Now out here on the little front door stoop space, I did want to put some plants, so I grabbed a planter pot from For Rent, I believe, and then I sized down some like little vining plants and also one of the tropical plants from Island Living with tool mod, and I moved it into that potter to kind of make my own little custom plant for the front. I wanted it to kind of replicate the image as best as I could, and I also pulled out some other plants from Jungle Adventure and also Snowy Escape. I also pulled out a chest, like a little storage chest from Horse Ranch, because I thought the worn out wood look was really nice. Also some crates that I sized down because I wanted to have a nice little spot for like a bunch of things, just things out front to make it look really cluttered and nice, with a little lantern on top. That's from Debug and Live Edit from Snowy Escape. They're the ones that kind of float on the river nearby. And then out on this table I placed a little sack of flour and sugar, and also a little case of kombucha and a fizzy drink. Those do spoil over time, which is a pain in the butt, but they looked really cool and I just wanted to use them. So you will probably have to have your sim clean those up if you download this a lot, but you can always replace them or put something else there if you like it. But I just wanted to kind of make it replicate the image, so that is for the sake of art. But if you do enjoy this, please be sure to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments how you feel about this, or if you've downloaded it, how it's working for you, or if there's anything anything else you'd like to see in the future along the lines of using businesses and hobbies, because I'm trying to go through just all of my little brainstorming things I have written down, and I want to just kind of tackle all of them, see what I can do with all of them, and I'm having a lot of fun with it, but I want to know what you guys want to see, obviously. Now out here on the side of the building, we're adding some more clutter and little adornments, some crates, some like little stacks of things, and just trying to kind of clutter it up with a bunch of different stuff. I also add some produce onto that table that I pulled out from Jungle Adventure, and I put a little sack of, I think that's supposed to be fertilizer or something, but that's underneath the little desk. I also pulled out some oversized crops and placed them up on the table, and then there's this little like box of turnips or something that I think came with Cottage Living, Debug, and Live Edit. So I moved that to the side. There's a little bucket. There's some more bags of fertilizer and like soil and such. I just thought it was fun to put everything out here so that it looks like they do some gardening, or when they are setting up their potted plants, that they have lots of extra topsoil to use in that regard. And I also had to use Toolmod to kind of move things around, so you'll see me use that quite a bit. Highly recommend Toolmod when you're trying to make a really cluttered looking home, or making one that's a replication from Pinterest, because it's very hard to get the placement just right. Even just using like the shelves that you can place next to your surface and then move the things with move objects and then put them back. Sometimes you just can't get that exact placement that you want, and I really enjoy using Toolmod for that, because you can move things just a little bit of a hair over ever so slightly and just get them absolutely perfect. So here's just a bunch of fruits and vegetables put up on this little crate, and then some watermelons. We have these little sacks. I think they're supposed to be like for baking. I'm not 100% sure, or like maybe they're animal treats, but I put them in there as well just because it added a nice little bit of decoration. Now we have a little back porch section going on here, and I don't have the Pinterest image for this handy, but when I was looking at images on Pinterest, there was also an image of a little courtyard section where people were sitting and eating, and I thought it looked so nice, and it had the same kind of feel as the original image that I had. And I really wanted to kind of incorporate that into this build as well. So I kind of just made very skinny walls all along the sides of this little back portion, and a little replication of the roof piece all along the top of it, so that it would have a matching roof. And then I also used some columns. I used some debug little pieces to kind of hide that gap that's in between the restaurant itself and the little tiny skinny wall. And this is like the surrounding of the courtyard, where there will be extra tables for eating. There's also like a little tea hutch I end up putting back here. There's a little bit of music. There's some plants, and it just looks really cute. So hopefully you like how that turned out. It did take me a second to really finish it off, but here's just the roof pieces going in on top, and I kept the angle the same as the other roof pieces so that it would all be very cohesive. Also, the wall swatch that I'm using across this entire build is all from Life and Death. The bottom portion of all the walls is the more worn down looking one, and then the top is like the second level portion, if you know what I mean. So I think that those two swatches work really, really nicely here. It looks a little bit worn out, but not too much. I think it's like an older building, and you'll expect to see a little bit of wear and tear with an older building. So I think it is understandable. And then I add a little bit more distress marks all over the place from, I think, a combination of the For Rent pack and Life and Death. A little bit of like mold I end up putting underneath the air conditioning unit in the front, and then of course some little pieces where like it's patchy. Maybe you can see the old brick exposed coming through, and I think that that just lends itself to the aesthetic of the build. So I think it worked out quite nicely. Also replicated the roof piece back here, and also the trim, because I wanted it to all look really nice together. But we have a second little addition in the back with a little covered back porch. That's where the kotatsu table goes, and I did have my sim upgrade it, so it's very warm when you sit down on it. I did this build in game. It was spring, and it was like early spring, so it was still a little bit chilly outside most of the time. So having the warming kotatsu table really attracted the customers over there. I thought that that was a nice touch, and it's just really cute to see all of the Sims sitting at the kotatsu table and having their little legs underneath the blanket thing. It just looks so cool, and I really, really enjoyed that. So I hope you do too. We're also adding some bamboo and some leafy green plants out front. A lot of these are from Debug and Live Edit, both from Snowy Escape, Life and Death, and also just base game, because a lot of the bamboo is actually from base game as well. And I really enjoy the bamboo from Debug and Live Edit. I think it looks a lot nicer than the regular bamboo that we are provided, which is actually not a whole lot. I also placed a bunch of signage. So there's one with like some noodles and some like ramen, it looks like, on there, and then like some skewers on the other side. And I just thought that those looked so nice, and they definitely looked like, hey, come here and get some sushi, get some noodles. I just thought it was really fun. And a lot of plants up here on this upper roof piece, because I was trying to, once again, replicate the image as best as I could. So lots of like vining plants, lots of kind of ground cover plants, and I was just trying to kind of clutter it up as much as I could. There's some with like differing colors of green, so I did layer a little bit, but I had to use tool mod quite a bit. I had to use the move objects and raising the things up and down until I could make them fit, and also to not clip in to the interior of the apartment, which is upstairs. That apartment is very small. It's very cramped. However, it is fully functional, and my sim was able to get around just fine. It was perfect for just a single sim. Even a young couple could live here too. If you wanted to, you could always expand the upper portion back a little bit on top of where the covered back porch is. So I don't see why that would be a problem. I don't think it would steal from the aesthetic at all. But you could also just have this as a second lot for your sim to own, and then just keep the apartment up above in case they were staying here and running the business overnight. They wanted to take a little nap or something. I think that would be really nice too. I was debating making another small business lot that did not have a full residential apartment up above, because then that could be like your second location. Let me know if you'd want to see that, because I am curious as to how that would work out. I have not played with that aspect of businesses and hobbies yet, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But out here, we're just adding some wall decorations, some signage, some little advertisements, maybe from people who, you know, sell their drinks here or something. And then we're adding some seating outside as well. With that little umbrella is from the Snowy Escape. I believe that's from Debug and Live Edit, and it fits so nicely into that table because it kind of has a boxy feel at the bottom. So I really enjoyed how that kind of just blended in so nicely. Also a bunch of lanterns outside and some more landscaping. There's also a little bathroom back here because I did not have a bathroom downstairs for the customers to use. The customers did not mind using the little porta potty that I have out there, so that's a good thing. And then we're having some more additional seating back here with some chairs. Also, all around the place, you will see in a little bit, I do end up placing some bonsai trees. So one of the activities I set for this lot was to do gardening or flower arranging, and some of the customers did not really, they really didn't do a whole lot of bonsai tree adjusting or shaping, but when I took away the flower arranging and just kept gardening, I noticed some customers were more willing to do some bonsai tree decorating. So that is just a little tip for you if you wanted them to actually use the bonsai trees and they weren't just for the owner of this lot to practice on, then you can have one of the activities be gardening. Otherwise, I just had eat food, drink tea, browse and buy items, and I think listen to music as those activities. And then obviously I had gardening as well. Now inside we have a bunch of lanterns on the wall. You also see I made little kind of cuts in the side walls of the courtyard so that I could put these lovely windows from Snowy Escape and also some curtain pieces from Snowy Escape. I tried to kind of layer them in a way that looked nice, and I did have to use tool mod again to get everything to the right size. There's also a lot of bushes out here, a lot of spaces to eat. I used a lot of different flowers from Life and Death again, and also from Snowy Escape and just base game. And we also added some awnings out here on these outer windows, and up on the upper portion of these walls you'll see I'm placing these like little slatted pieces, and those came with Snowy Escape. I thought that they just added a little bit more texture and interest underneath where the roof piece is. And then of course in the roofs on the wall I used a different siding just because I thought it gave a nice little color. In here though, you'll see we added some stairs in that little square area that ends up being kind of like a kitchenette for the owner to use when she's cleaning up dishes and stuff. There ends up being like a dishwasher, a little sink, and just one little portion of countertop to use. And in the rest of this large room, we have the countertop going in, the little island for dining, and some little refrigerators to put the food in and the customers to browse from there. I also pulled out a bunch of different tea things. So we have like the regular teapot that is like the electric one. We have the standard teapot that came with, I think, my wedding stories. That is there so you can just serve whatever kind of tea you want. It's kind of like a little old-fashioned tea set, I guess you'd say. And then up on the little shelf, I did place a little decorative tray with some tea on it and the little elephant teapot from For Rent. Underneath the countertops, I put in just a couple different like little selections of tea canisters, and I also placed one of the teapots that your sim can make on the ceramic table from Businesses and Hobbies, just because I thought it looked really cool. I didn't want to cramp that space up too much because I didn't want there to be too many items on there. Sometimes they just disappear anyway, so I didn't want to put too much effort into that. But you'll see I have put down the wallpaper from Snowy Escape, and then I'm changing the flooring to, I believe, this one from Base Game. I just kind of like it. It isn't exactly, Japanese inspired, but I like the different shapes that it makes, all the different squares. So I thought that lent itself pretty well. Also some plants over there on the end piece of the eating island because I just thought it looked really pretty and it kind of gave some more color to the room. And then some lanterns on the wall. We have some tapestries hanging on the wall and some more art, all from Snowy Escape. I tried to keep it pretty simple and I don't know, I guess feng shui. I don't know how feng shui this place actually is. I know nothing about that. But I also placed a little menu board from Snowy Escape up here above the one fridge. And then I also placed a bunch of like those little decorative sprite things that I think you can find when you are going on a hike in Mount Komorebi. And I placed a few of them on the wall. You'll see the little yellow one. I think I placed the blue one and a different colored one as well. I'm not 100% sure what the other color was. But I only added one little light to the little kitchenette space, and then we are working upstairs on the apartment. So I'm just kind of mapping out right now where things are going to go. This isn't necessarily the furniture I'm going to be using, but I wanted to see where the kitchen would go, where the living space would go with the TV, because I knew I wanted to have a TV in here so that they could maybe watch some TV and get their fun up while they were cooking the meals and getting ready to open up the restaurant. And then over here is a very tiny little bedroom. It looks pretty big, but it's actually quite skinny. And then the bathroom is the last little room up there. Out here, we're adding some more wall decorations because I didn't think there was quite enough on the rest of the building. I paid attention mostly to the front, and I wanted to make sure it looked the same all throughout. And then I love this tiger with the writing on it. It kind of hides the railing coming through from the stairs inside, but it also just looks really nice, and I enjoy how kind of graffitied the outside of this building is. And then taking a gamble here and adding some terrain paint, hoping that it doesn't erase the next time I am here. I usually don't have that problem, but I have had that problem in the past, so I try to save it for the very end, but sometimes I get impatient and I just want it to look almost all the way done, so I get a little ahead of myself. But here we are adding the mailbox out front, and I did have to use tool mod to kind of move over that planter on the front stoop so that your sim could get to the mailbox, and now you should be totally fine because it is in a good spot. Again, love that tool mod. Gotta have it because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to put the mailbox where I wanted it. And then some more lanterns. We have some trash cans. We also have these lovely window boxes, which I believe are from Spa Day. I really think they're cool because they just have a little bit of grass coming up. They're very neutral. And then I wanted to add more roof adornments, even though it doesn't quite match the inspiration image. I just thought that they looked really nice here. And I also really like the use of this electrical box over here on the side of the building. And then we are adding a little walkway that leads to our bathroom. I thought it would be nice to have it kind of mapped out for your Sims and their guests. And then we are adding more of these debug and live edit like bamboo fence pieces all around the outside here. And I do end up adding a lot more landscaping over here as well. Just some like bushes and stuff and some more of these low-lying plants. Again, I kind of repeated all the same ones across the lot because I didn't want it to not be cohesive and not match and, kind of throw off the feel of it. I wanted to keep it pretty much the same, but I think it came out really, really cute, and I enjoy the use of plants and how they're very like low-key. There's nothing too bright and crazy. It's just very calming and very zen. I think the whole lot really gives off that vibe. So you'll see more of these azalea bushes. I also sized way down these bamboo pieces because I wanted to put them pretty much in every empty area that I could all around this little wall. I just thought it was nice to have, and I did rotate them ever so slightly so they weren't exactly uniform and the same. And later on, I end up adding some benches over here on this side too, near the bathroom. So there's like 3 benches and also more sidewalk so that it kind of leads to the back walkway of this lot, because there are lots after this, like right behind it, and I wanted everybody to be able to kind of just walk through at their leisure. Also, I love these little grass patches that are from cottage living, so I do kind of throw them in all over the place just so that they can kind of fill up that empty space and give a little bit more, you know, texture to the lot. All these little tiny grass pieces up against the walls of the courtyard, and then in here we're adding a little bit more decoration to the interior. You'll see more sprites hanging on the wall, more artwork going in from, I believe, from City Living, and a little bit more from Snowy Escape. And then we are going to add this lovely wall plant, which came with Businesses and Hobbies. I love that one. I use him in every build now. And some fluffy rugs underneath these stools at the island where everyone will be eating. Here you'll just see a little bit of this footage decorating the kitchenette. I did want to use this long countertop piece that came with Businesses and Hobbies, so I kind of snuck that in the corner. And then we have the little sink that came with Businesses and Hobbies, and the dishwasher is underneath that one countertop piece. I'll come back to that later, though. You'll see it mostly in the screenshots. Now we are back upstairs in the apartment. I'm completely getting rid of that old kitchen because I wanted to use this countertop instead from Dream Home Decorator. And then I was just using these very simple base game appliances. At first, I do believe I changed the stove to be the one from Home Chef Hustle because I enjoy how that one looks better. But we have this little shelf going in from For Rent. It has just some plates and stuff on it, and I thought it looked really nice. Here I am switching out that stove because it's just much more sleek and modern, and I think it looks real nice in here. And then some lighting from Growing Together, another little lamp on the TV table, and I believe I add this lovely rug from For Rent with all the leaves on it. And then I threw up some plants. There's a little basket underneath the table and some magazines on top, as well as the remote that I got from Debug and Live Edit. And that stack of books on top of the little like suitcase thing actually works as a bookshelf, which is very nice. So I figured having that in here wouldn't hurt. We also have more curtains on the windows, just in a different swatch, some hanging plants, and then over here to hide the clipping of the little roof plants, I use these boxes that came with Dream Home Decorator, and I just kind of stack them, and then I put a little stack of books just on top to kind of make it look like they were meant to be there. And over in the kitchen, we have to make sure we have our knives and our cutting board and our spoons. So I did use the tool mod to bring that board down just a little bit and then angle it back so it looks like it is leaning up against the wall, and then I rose it up a little bit more. So I think it gives it a much more organic feel, and the shadow isn't too far off, which is nice because some items the shadow just does not work. When you go to use the tool mod, it gets all messed up. But we have a lovely little basket with like some herbs in it and the mortar and pestle, some plates. Over here at the sink we have our soap pump, and I am just rearranging everything. I'm trying to keep a lot of countertop space open in here because I wanted to make sure that your sim had plenty of room to be able to make all the dishes. I knew that they would need almost all of the countertop space available to them. And then in the bedroom, we have the bed and the end table from Snowy Escape, and I'm using the lamp from For Rent. Same wallpaper that I used downstairs in the little kitchenette area. I really like the kind of wooden slatted bottom, and then up top is just a nice stark white. I think it's very clean and very easy to like decorate the walls that way so it doesn't look quite so naked. And then the rug is from Book Nook Kit, and I end up rearranging the door and the dresser, and the dresser is from Snowy Escape as well. I just think it's so cool. I love using that dresser. I don't usually get the opportunity because it's very niche to this kind of build, but I think it looks really nice. And then the bathroom is very beige and white and clean and not too exciting, so I'm only going to show, basically what I can. But we have a countertop from Dream Home Decorator for now. I believe I may change the swatch or the type altogether in just a second. And the mirror is from Seasons. I did have to use Tool Mod to move it down because it never wants to place where I want it to. And then we have the sink from Snowy Escape, and I end up using the toilet from Snowy Escape. The plunger and the toilet paper roll, of course, are from Bathroom Clutter. And then this little organizer over here on the sink, and a little toothbrush and soap pump going up on the sink as well, using the move objects to get everything in its right place. And then I did put a little towel on this side and a hand towel on the wall. There is, I think, 2 windows in this room, and I might end up moving them up higher, but I don't think I will have put that on camera because that's kind of boring, honestly. And then there's, of course, my lovely candle on the back of the toilet, and a hutch right behind the toilet because I wanted to fill up more wall space and not make it look so boring. And then back in the bedroom, we are decorating the top of the dresser with some pots and some plants. I have a little notebook on the end table here in case she has some notes for new recipes or ideas for the business. And then some of the same tapestries from City Living, that same plant, once again, from Businesses and Hobbies, and then more paintings on the wall and some more curtains. And I really like these ones from Snowy Escape. They just fit those windows so nicely. It's almost like they're from the same pack. But no, I'm just kidding. And now we have some more of these adornments going on the outside of the building because I wanted to make sure that underneath where the air conditioner was, there was like some water stains, maybe some mold, and then also some little marks where the gutters meet the side of the building because that would make a lot of sense to me. But yeah, these are my favorite little things to just throw in at the last second just to kind of finish up the idea. And I also thought maybe some of these cracks would be nice. So I used a combination from like werewolves and vampires, and I believe also For Rent, just kind of scattered about little random cracks. Like I don't want it to look dilapidated by any means, but I do want it to look like it's been here a while. Maybe the building's like been in the family and it was always a restaurant of some kind, and now it is passed down to the sim, and she's decided to make it more of an eatery rather than a full-blown Japanese restaurant because it's a lot more casual and easy, and the young people love that. Here are those benches going in, and then I also add another table over here just like I have out front using the same pieces. And I also put this stone piece underneath. I don't know if I mentioned, it's kind of like a rug, but it's made of stone, and I size it up a little bit and just put it underneath the table. I think it just gives a little bit of dimension, and then some dirt underneath. Here's some more of those fence pieces going in all around the bathroom and down like half the side of the lot just to kind of frame everything in, and then just a little bit of benches and some more terrain paint and maybe some more plants. And then we should move over here to the back deck area where we're adding some more lights. Our kotatsu tables out here. We have some plants. I think this is where I put 2 of the bonsai trees for the customers and for the owner to use, because I think that that's a really fun activity. Like you come here, you eat some food, you drink some tea, you're feeling inspired, so you want to use the bonsai tree and just create some art of your own before you head out. I thought that was fun. And I also really like these plants that came with Businesses and Hobbies, so I put them on the back porch as well, and I added one more window to the wall. Here you'll see a very rare portion of me actually doing the ceiling paint, so we have the same floor tiles as the roof tiles. And now we are into the eatery and we're seeing our customers come in. I really think that it was a lot of fun to play with this. I think I play tested for a couple days where the customers would just come in, and I think I kept it open like 24 hours most likely, and then would just close for 2 hours, cook some more meals, move them to our inventory, and then open again. And it seemed to work out very nicely. We sold out quite a bit, and my sim is right there with the plumb bob above her head. Obviously, she has an outfit from Home Chef Hustle, and she has quite a few outfits kind of varying. It was a lot of fun to play with this one, so I really hope you enjoyed it. Here's another little peek at our inspiration image, so let me know what you think, and also let me know what you'd like to see next. And again, please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. There's a lot of people who come to take a look at my videos but aren't subscribed yet, so I highly encourage it because it really helps me out, and I really appreciate all of the support. And yeah, I'm going to be working on a couple other builds coming up, but adding more ideas to the list is always appreciated. So thank you so much, guys. Enjoy the screenshots, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.